And I would like to welcome on stage Erik Lindblad from Inception Fund.
Rockstar greeting.
And Yariv Adan from Ellipsis Venture.
Another rockstar greeting.
Have a seat, okay. All right, how are you guys?
Awesome.
Huh?
Amazing to be here.
How are you, eller?
How are you, Ellen? Yeah.
It works well in English as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
We should not go there. Stockholmers trying to make fun of Gothenburg.
No, I
won't
know.
fly.
It's
We can do
not
Switzerland
good
versus
start.
Sweden if you want, yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, but I introduced you as investors, and I know that you, Yariv, you have a background, 17 years at Google. So I want to start with you. Can you just briefly, for the people that don't know you from before, what you do today, what you've done in the past, and sort of your investment scope?
Yeah, so today I'm an early stage investor. We do pre-seed and seed, and we do what we call AI deep tech, so high value, defensible AI companies. Defensibility, we think, is in data and expertise modes. We look either automating very complex applications, high value, or in unlocking AI scale. This is what we invest. Yeah, I've been working on AI for a long time. Like I said, 17 years at Google. Before that, 10 years in the Israeli AI startup ecosystem. At Google, I got bit by the AI bug in 2015, started what became Google Assistant and Google Lens, led some projects on the consumer side, then moved to lead conversational AI in cloud AI, or the language models and speech. Found myself on the wrong side of the street when ChatGPT happened, and was leading applied Gen AI in Google Cloud. And then after 17 years, I left to start Ellipsis. Really
cool. And you did that together with some old colleagues?
Yes. Actually, a local guy, Matthias Dantone, well, he married a local girl. Dantone is not much of a Swedish name.
So he's from Gothenburg as well?
He lives in Gothenburg, yeah. He studied his PhD in ETH in Switzerland, had a spin-off, sold it to Apple, worked, I think, 4 years and 2 days at Apple, and then came back and we started Ellipsis together, yeah.
Really cool. And you, Erik, you're also very AI focused. Tell us a bit Inception Fund.
Yeah, so we pulled together a new initiative like a year ago. Myself, my fellow partners, Oliver Melander, Peter Sarlin, and Caroline Kronstedt, where we tried to, and to some extent at least, succeeded to gather the Nordic AI mafia, if you will, and the AI leaders of the Nordics, both next-gen founders from Legora, Lovable, Sana, Tandem Health, etc., but also exited founders from Recorded Future here in Gothenburg, from Silo AI, Mapillary, TransferWise, and Nordic researchers who sit with the big AI labs like DeepMind, OpenAI, etc., to jointly back the next generation of technical founders as early as possible. So that's what we're doing now.
Right. I mean, you don't lack confidence, I feel, which is great. And I think you need confidence in this era. So looking at the opportunities right now, you mentioned the defensibility.
Yeah.
And I actually asked you before, since you do deep tech, is an AI application company, is that really deep tech?
Depends exactly what you're doing in application. I think we are actually keeping away from kind of enterprise automations that replaces SaaS. This is where we believe commoditization is the biggest risk. And we see the risk in two ways. One, do we really need an application? Can't we just use the model? Or kind of the world is becoming like an Excel. The end user can implement themselves. You don't need someone to build an app on top of an Excel. But the other thing that we're clearly seeing, at the end, VC is a game of numbers. And because it's so easy to create this kind of companies very quickly, there are many more. There is hundreds of companies trying to build the same automation for every use case. So the chance that they will become big or they will be acquired, I think just like the number game is different. I just think that we're going to see a new class of companies in many of these areas that will be successful in terms they will have revenue, profits, and whatnot, but they will never scale because I think there is each one of them starts from some few customers that they have unfair advantage and they plan to scale, but there are hundreds doing the same trick. So I think we'll see many smaller fish in smaller ponds. Great business, not VC fundable. So this is a little bit how we're looking, and we're looking for different things, yeah. So the ones that actually harder problems, clear data modes, or very rare expertise
Can you give an
modes.
example of an investment?
Yeah, so we invested, for example, in the biotech space, on very complex protein space. We invested some in robotics, solving some of the harder problems over there. We invested in an agent that automates factory manufacturing, starting with optimizing energy and throughput. So this kind of level of complexity, they need to build models where the data that is required to build these models don't exist, and the knowledge doesn't exist, not in the LLMs, and it's not easy to come and synthesize it into them. Yeah.
I mean, since you have your background from Google, it's more or less like you have some insider in the way that sometimes you talk about, like, is this a good investment opportunity, or will it just be a feature because the big guys will soon come? I mean, how do you reflect on that since coming from Google?
So I think that there is two advantages coming from Google. One is really understanding how big tech thinks and where they're going. And I think one of the commoditization in the past, big tech went less into verticalization, but now because the effort is actually less, like, it's very easy for them to do. You don't need the core teams, you have some go-to-market. The other thing that we have very deep understanding is how does acquisition go? I led multiple acquisitions at Google. I know what they're looking for, and so forth. So actually, when we are looking at teams, we are actually thinking forward, is that an acquisition target? Yeah.
Okay, really interesting. I'm really excited. Erik, what kind of opportunities are you most excited about right now?
So I mean, we're investing across the stack. We do a lot of application layer stuff, but we're also doing dev tooling. We're doing on the infra layer. We have companies doing their own foundational models, etc. But when we invest on the application layer, we want really vertically focused companies.
Domain expertise, is that necessary?
Well, that's a great question.
Thank you.
And I think we have seen companies like Legora proving that it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Where we have Maxig and the guys being young founders from KTH, rather coming in, disrupting the legal sector without any biases or having sort of been built into how that sector already works, etc. Then, of course, they have taken on amazing sector expertise and lawyers on the team to do that as the next wave. But it depends, and we definitely have a lot of companies that we have backed that have deep sector expertise. We have, for example, we backed one company in Malmö called Lightbringer that do AI for patents. So everything from patent drafting to submission of patents to patent monitoring. Dominic there, the founder, he's both a patent attorney and a software engineer with a master's in ML. So like, he has spent 15 years in the space. He knows the ins and outs and the problems and what works, what doesn't, what should be automated and what shouldn't, and he can build it as well. So I mean, those rare combinations are of course super attractive.
Can I ask him a question?
Yeah, sure.
Challenge. Actually, I'm super curious.
Help me.
Like a super good VC. I think the rules of software and moats is changing. So when I look at it, in the past, because building software was hard, long, and expensive, and then there was integration all time, right? So it was very important to move fast, to be first. These were kind of the mode. And I think that one part of the commoditization of code building, a lot of that goes away. Definitely, business logic, data, and UI, you can do much cheaper. So stickiness is much less. So curious how you're thinking about new modes, old modes, and like to...
Yeah, no, but great question. Curious. Looking forward to hear your views as well. But I think you're completely right. Technology is becoming more and more commoditized. It goes faster to build. So distribution is definitely one key thing to nail, and that can turn into a moat. If a lot of companies and founders might have built the same thing, one managed to unlock distribution and get it out there. And that, of course, depends on what type of product you have. Is it a consumer-prosumer product where you want to really get a viral flywheel going? Or is it an enterprise product where you want to build those deep relationships with enterprises? And that's where I think we will see a lot more also of helping them with the integrations, more forward deployed engineers to be there and really build in the solutions, make sure that they get adopted, because that's where you get retention and stickiness as well. There's so much hype right now, and also corporates just buying different AI services to buy them to please their boards and show that they're doing something in AI, but then they will churn from tons of them because they will never even start using them. So being very close to your customers, even putting your own staff inside the customer to make sure that they integrate in the right way, educate the people how to use the tools, etc. I think is definitely a key thing. And then I think like extreme examples like Lovable, etc., who have really unlocked distribution, also super strong when it comes to brand. And I think definitely brand in this era is also super important. Of course, more in certain sectors than others, but as it gets more commoditized, we have products that are pretty similar to each other, something that then sort of awakens emotions and talks to you and you want to be connected to it, that's super important, and also
Yeah.
then being top of mind.
Yeah.
And what's your view on defensibility?
Yeah, I think like, I don't know, maybe it's a crazy thought, but I think like, a little bit, I don't know, 2 to 5 years, I think we will see more and more procurement actually moving to be agentic. And I think the agent doesn't care about brand or about stickiness. And I think like it will be basically, as a buyer, will say, this is what I want, this is my requirements, this is my budget, this is my compliance, blah, blah, blah. And agent will break that down, will go and find, will do a bid. It will actually check that the agent can do it, and then we'll do an online contract. So I think like one, it will be much more ephemeral, like you don't need to have that stickiness and continuity. It will be much more about the deliverable rather than the brand. And because also customer support will be automated, I wonder whether this stickiness. So I think like it's too, and maybe like you
but I
want
want to
some like
challenge you
something
here,
like
because what I don't hear is like trust and integrity.
Yeah,
as a
that's
moat.
what
yes, but
I wanted to comment
trust
on.
is not the name of the people. Trust is, oh, you say you can do that. Here is 1,000 examples.
Trust
Please
is
show me
also
that
like
you
who
can do it.
controls and who has access to the data.
No, but first you can prove actually that you have or eyes on whatever other stuff. But my point today, we're trusting brands and people because they declare this is what I'm going to do or not. Many times, by the way, we found that our trust has been broken. I think the trust with agents, because they can actually do transactions extremely quickly, is actually, please give me a signed proof that actually, to your point, you're not saving data. Show me the code. You can, using Web3, you can do all sorts of interesting tests. But actually, before I buy, here's 100 samples. Show me your solution to these 100 samples, and then I can choose and I compare. So I think this is like actually data-based trust as opposed to brand-based trust.
Brand and storytelling trust.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I think like, some industries before others and so forth, but I think that's a very strong pressure against, and it's very different. And especially,
And I think it's a good point, especially looking ahead when we will have more agentic buying. And then, of course, it depends on who the buyer is.
Yeah.
If we're talking consumer, prosumer, I still think like brand is a very vital part. But when we go into more enterprises and we will have agentic buying, then definitely also security, being able to show what rails are you running on, what will you do with my data, etc. That will definitely become a moat.
And
super
speaking of
important.
which, enterprise AI adoption, where are we right now?
Very early. A lot of talk, more and more happening. But I mean, up until last year, I think most sort of implemented a chatbot on their website and said, now we're using AI. But I think we will see way more deeply integrated AI and automation this year, where we automate more complex tasks, and that's also now being unlocked with sort of longer reasoning being enabled and larger context windows, etc. And also trust and security measures and systems that can actually be implemented in a secure way. They can even be deployed locally, etc., to automate tasks like accounting or in ERP systems or whatnot, and do more end-to-end tasks as well, not just solving sort of
But
one thing.
with your AI fund, you've done 18 investments so far, and you've done a lot of B2B. When you talk to your founders, they are trying to sell to those enterprises. How's it going for them?
I would say in general that it's going very well when it comes to selling something. Then the big question is retention. Because right now there are a lot of innovation budgets out there. It's very high on the agenda to try out different AI tools, etc. So if you take like in the legal sector, I've been speaking to law firms who say that from a board or partnership level, we have said, buy everything you can, test it out for 6 months, and then we stick with what actually worked and delivered value. So we will see these very sort of rapid jumps in, ARR or MRR times 12 in a lot of early stage companies who get these trials. But if they take on 10 fairly similar products to try out, they will only stick with 1 or 2 of them. So we will see great churn as well from many companies.
Do you
by the way,
agree?
very strategically, we invested in companies where the path to ARR is longer, but it's more defensible once you get it. We think there is a lot of fake ARR currently in the market.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like, it's annual in its revenue. I don't think it's recurrent. Because I think like a lot of companies are now starting to automate. And then there is margin to take because humans are not very efficient and very expensive in some stuff. But that margin is taken once and never repeats. And in a very competitive market, eventually it's the cost of running the agents that sets the price. So I think like if you are looking at some ARR of a company today should extrapolate to 3-5 years, and I think there is a lot of questions. So we went to this again, defensible, longer term, places where you are in. There is like also a fly moat and so forth. So that was, so things are taking. But also we need to take a perspective where also, no one is using AI. First, there is like very clear trends. People are using automation flows. Everyone is using very complex prompts. But we also need to ask why. There is like for an organization to use AI, they need new talent, new processes, cleaning their data. And there are also some technical problems like, structured data isn't solved, retrieval isn't solved, explainability isn't solved, privacy. There are a few problems, but they're like in the 2-3 years horizon. It's not in the 5 to 10. So.
And everything isn't about the short-term ARR.
Yeah.
I mean, we recently invested in a company called ABC Labs. What they do right now that's known in the market is that they do drug testing for corporates and workplaces. And that is scaled from $0 to $3 million in ARR in a year. But the big thing is that they are, by each drug test, collecting multi-module biodata that then they train their own language model on, in which, in turn, they can then start doing personalized drug development. They can go into preventive health. They've already developed algorithms where they can do facial screen-based drug testing, etc. So it's also like investing in these companies that are building something greater and deeper with a data moat that compounds over time and unlocks something completely bigger.
So even long-term thinking for a VC. But speaking about trust and integrity, because a big theme today has obviously been around like Europe and that we need to build resilience, etc. And what I'm really interested in is because I see you quite often going to San Francisco, and I mean founders still aspire to Y Combinator, which is this incubator. And in this sort of time that we live in, what's your thoughts and reflection when we still have this threat not only from China and Russia, but also from the US right now?
I think we need to be able to keep two parallel thoughts in our minds at the same time. We need to build a stronger, more sovereign Europe and invest here. And also, I'm wearing my EU Inc. t-shirt here today. Make sure that we have regulations and structures that enable scaling here. But we can't disregard the US. We need to keep working with the US despite their current administration. It is the biggest market for many of our companies. If we look at the US West Coast, that is the mecca of tech, both when it comes to where the big dollars sit, but also many of the big companies who might be your customers. There's a lot of talent, there's a lot to be learned from, and also just going there as a Nordic or European founder, it helps you sort of reset the bar in terms of ambition, speed, and just dreaming as well. So I think we should definitely keep building bridges between Europe and the US whilst also investing hard in European sovereignty.
And AI is the best thing, right? Because we are few and lazy, but we are disadvantaged because now humans are doing all the work. In a world where AI does all the work, the advantage of China and the US goes away, and it's a plain level field again. So I'm optimistic. But also seriously, I think we should help European founders move faster, so make money easier. I think raising in the US is so much easier compared to raising in Europe. VCs are so conservative and slow, and show me your 20 years financial plan. So I think it's fine supporting them, making them ambitious, letting them to the US and be successful. Many of them come back and become a role model and create an ecosystem like we have in Stockholm, but yeah, so I think
Yeah, just last year, we had 5 Swedish companies attending Y Combinator.
Yeah.
Sorry, 10. The year before before last year, we had 10 companies ever from Sweden in Y Combinator. So we're seeing more and more Swedish and Nordic founders going to SF and sort of attending that school. It's only for a couple of weeks,
and they
come back. Then they come back with a readjusted sort of ambition level and view on what's possible.
Yeah, I'm the moderator, so I'm not supposed really to have an opinion on this, but I sort of disagree with you, because I think we also need to sort of think ahead, and also if you put American investors on the cap table, that could have implications for Europe and security going forward. But that's just a thought. And since I'm the moderator, I can also now we move forward to another question. Okay, last question. I want to hear your thoughts, because I mean, it has been a problem with not in general, very few female founders, especially in the AI field. That's my view. And also now, recently, at least if we look in Stockholm, lost a couple of female investors. I want to hear your thoughts on this.
So, first of all, yes, it's definitely a structural problem. If we start on the founder side, I think now is really the era of technical founders, and we are seeing an overrepresentation of male builders, and that also goes down to on a university level, looking at KTH, Chalmers, etc. So sort of the pond to select from is skewed. And then I think, as you're also alluding to, it's very important that we also have female investors, because I think for many reasons, both that it makes it even more approachable for female founders to meet with VCs when they can meet someone of their own gender. It shouldn't be like that, but I know it is like that. And there, it's definitely a problem that we're losing a lot of female VCs.
Do you know, like, do you have any
yes,
like, reasons for it?
Yes. So I know for a fact that several firms have been way too slow and conservative in their succession plans, not promoting their younger investors, and especially their younger female investors, to climb the partnership ladder. I also know that several now, they are very ambitious and great builders. Many have been operators or entrepreneurs, and right now is such an amazing and interesting time to build. So many are going from the investor side now to either found companies like yourself, or join one of the rocket ships that are taking off. So they're leaving for good reasons, they're leaving for good places, but we need more women, both on the founder side and the VC side, to sort of fuel each other as well. And of course, I and a lot of other men in the industry are more than happy to jump on female builders as well. But there are too few, so we need to keep fueling this from university and upwards. And we also need breakout role models, and like we've had on the male side, and do more events that are inclusive, etc. But also especially make sure that actual dollars get put into great female builders and not just talk.
Good. Any final thoughts?
No, 100% agree. At Google, actually, I very intentionally, I hired almost only females to my team, because I knew that men, it was kind of a coin flip. Females, in order to be like a senior PM, you want so much, like everyone was a superstar, and then there was like Forbes article on the top 25 women in product in Europe, and the first 5 from the first 10 were on my team. So I'd like, so now actually we have some intern programs, so the 2 superstars actually are female. So yeah, I completely agree. Like, there are so many hurdles even before. It's a much better hire, and I encourage everyone to invest and hire more females. It's like a win-win. I have 2 daughters, so I'm personally invested.
Great, and I know you have a daughter as well.
Yes, and just to give some hope here, like we've backed some amazing female builders over the past 12 months, and they're still very early in their journeys, but soon we will hear a lot more from them, which will inspire others. So there are things happening, but still on a too low level. But yes,
happy to hear. And I mean, this conversation has been great. I am so sad that we need to end it. Thank you so much. A big applause.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.